يا آل بيت رسول الله. يا آل بيت رسول الله، حبكم فرض من الله، في القرآن أنزله، كفاكم من عظيم الشأن أنكم من لم يصل عليكم لا صلاة له. احنا مجتمعين ولادة الإمام الحسن المجتبى، وإذا تعبانين من الصيام فأنا هم أحق بالتعب، لأن هم صايم وهم سافرت. فصلوا على محمد وآل محمد. هاي الصلوات هم مقبولة، نريد صلوات حسنية إن شاء الله تصل إلى البقيع إن شاء الله. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. بآل محمد عرف الصواب، وفي أبياتهم نزل الكتاب، هم حجج الإله على البرايا، بهم وبجدهم لا يستراب. لي خمسة نطفي بهم حر الجحيم الحاطمة، لي خمسة أطفي بهم حر الجحيم الحاطمة، المصطفى والمرتضى وابناهما وفاطمة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين، حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد. وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين. First and foremost, we congratulate the Imam of our time, Imam al-Mahdi al-Muntazar, Ajalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu al-Sharif, our great Maraja, our scholars, yourselves, your families, on the birth anniversary of Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba alayhi afdalu salati wassalam, this great noble Imam, whom generally is quite oppressed when it comes to history. And I'll tell you exactly why this is. Because many times you will come to talk about the lives of the Imams, and you'll talk about Amir al-Mu'mineen, and everyone has memorized everything about Amir al-Mu'mineen. From the minutes of his birth, not even his birth, no, the minutes of his birth are memorized. That is one. Two, his life with the Prophet. Three, his life after the Prophet, memorized by all. You look at Imam al-Hussein alayhi afdalu salatu wassalam, likewise. And likewise with the rest of the Imams, most especially the likes of Imam al-Kadhim alayhi afdalu salatu wassalam. When it comes to Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba, unfortunately this is where we see an oppression. Why? Because history is not necessarily read in the right way when it comes to his life. And inshallah, what I will aim to do for today, inshallah, is to talk about the biography of Imam Hasan al-Mujtaba before his imamah. Because even those who would tell you about the life of Imam Hasan al-Mujtaba, usually the focus is what? The peace treaty that he signed with Muawiyah. What happened before then? What was his role during the time of Amir al-Mu'mineen? What was his role during the time of the Prophet? What was he like in his youth? These are questions that we need to answer. These are questions that we need to know. What were the milestones of the life of Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba alayhi afdal salatu wa salam? These are things that we should know. And tomorrow, inshallah, we will have a part 2 on the life of Imam al-Hasan, so that we don't just say his life is oppressed. No, we do something about it. The part 2 will be about his biography post-Imamah. And then after that, we will move on to some other social topics, inshallah, and topics on self-development, if Allah Azza wa Jalla allows us to. And inshallah, with your permission, we will start today's majlis with the blessings of 3 love salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Salawat wallah al-azim is not acceptable. It doesn't matter, you're fasting, you're not fasting, you've had your tea, you've had your iftar, you've had everything. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The heaviest deed on the day of judgment is the salawat upon Muhammad and ali Muhammad. If all deeds were to be put in one hand and the salawat will be in another hand, the hand of the salawat would be heavier than the rest of the deeds. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I'm loving these youth that I see in front of me. The salawat beats the rest of the whole, all put together. Jazakumullah khairan jazak. It is the year 3 after Hijrah, the 15th of the month of Ramadan, a day like this, and that is when a light would shine in the house of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib and Fatima al-Zahra alayhim afdal salati wa salam, and that is none other than the light of guidance, a light of the lights of guidance. The Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, he would approach the house of Ali and Fatima as he would usually do. He would knock on that door, they would open the door for him, and he would enter to see Amir al-Mu'mineen holding a young infant. He congratulates Amir al-Mu'mineen on the birth of this infant, and he asks him, "Oh Ali, what did you name him?" He says to him, "Ya Rasulullah, I was never going to name him before you did." And he said, the Prophet would say, and I would never name him before Allah does. And this is when Jibreel alayhi salam would descend upon our beloved Prophet and say, "O Muhammad, Allah sends his salams, and he orders you to call him like the name of the son of Harun, Shabbar, and that in Arabic is Hasana. So call him Hasana." Hence, his name that was chosen was Al-Hasan. This name was chosen by Allah Azza wa Jal, the equal of the name of Shabbar, the son of Harun. And this was repeated at the time of Imam al-Hussein, when he would say, call him Husaynan, the equal of Shabir, the son of Harun. So understand that when you read that you are to me like Harun was to Musa, it is not just because Amir al-Mu'mineen was left in a city and he wanted to keep him calm and said, "Don't worry, you are like to me like Harun was to Musa." No, he was like Harun was to Musa in everything. Amir al-Mu'mineen was that Harun of the time, while the Prophet was the Musa of the time. And this is why you find that even when it came to naming his children, the Prophet wanted to send a message. In fact, Allah, the one who chose these names, was the one who wanted to send a message. Shabbar, equal in Arabic, Hasan. Shabir, equal in Arabic, Hussein, and hence he was called Hasan. And he was given the title of Al-Mujtaba, and he was also known as Abu Muhammad, and these are of the recommended acts. The Holy Prophet would perform other recommended acts that then became a sunnah, a way, a prophetic way for us to follow. Of them is to perform the adhan in the right ear, the iqamah in the left ear, to shave his head after a week and give sadaqah with the weight of the hair in grams of gold, and to, for example, slaughter an animal and give its meat to the poor people. These were things that the first time these were done, they were done with Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba. So it was through his birth that this prophetic sunnah would start. And this is a very important thing that when we talk about Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba, to mention. So this was his birth. Then, fast forward 3 more years. And now we are in the year 6 after Hijrah. The Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, he would approach the city of Medina. He would approach the city of Mecca, wanting to perform Umrah with a group of his companions. Their swords were sheathed in order to show that they were not ready to fight. Rather, they wanted to come for the sake of worship. As they entered or came close to Mecca, there is an area by the name of Hudaybiyah. They would come to a crossroad there, or rather, they would come to a cutoff point there, where the Meccans told them that from here you cannot go any more further. They said to them, we are not here to fight you, and we are not here to conquer Mecca either. Rather, we are here for the sole sake of Umrah. They said, you return, and there was a treaty that was signed between them that they will return back to Medina, and after a year they will return to Mecca, where they will be allowed to enter it safely and perform their Umrah. The Holy Prophet would gather his companions, and there would be an allegiance that is sworn between his companions and the Holy Prophet. This is known as Bay'atul Ridwan, or otherwise also known as Bay'atul Shajar, where there is a Quranic verse that talks about this specific allegiance, where Allah Azza wa Jal says, Allah is pleased of the believers who pay you allegiance under the tree, and He knows what is in their hearts. So He allowed calmness to enter them. This is the Quranic verse that talks about this specific bay'ah. This happened in which year? 6 after Hijrah. The importance of this bay'ah. You're going to tell me we're talking about Imam al-Hasan. Why have we suddenly changed to talking about the bay'ah? The importance of this bay'ah is that the people, the companions that performed bay'ah, did not perform bay'ah for the prophethood of the Messenger of Allah. Why? Because believing in the prophethood requires what? Shahada, not allegiance. The allegiance was an agreement between the companions and between the Holy Prophet that we will defend the religion of Islam with whatever we have of wealth and health in the future, and we will come back to the city of Mecca with you, and if there was a war that would come your way, that we would be protecting you, and there was an agreement on important issues of the future plans of this religion. Meaning, when we are talking about a sensitive topic like this, it is not for any individual to come and swear allegiance or pay allegiance, correct? Therefore, when you look back at history, you will find that potentially the youngest person to perform bay'ah on that day was either 14 or 15 years of age. This is year what? 6 after Hijrah. For those of you who were listening, Imam al-Hasan was born which year? Anyone with me? Which year? 3 after Hijrah. Which means Imam al-Hasan Mujtaba, how old is he here? 3 years of age. And in that specific bay'ah, Imam al-Hasan and Imam al-Hussein paid allegiance to the Prophet, and the Prophet accepted their payings of allegiance. Now you're going to tell me, fine, they were there with these lots and with the companions who paid allegiance. No. I'm telling you, the youngest was 14 or 15. But Imam al-Hasan and Imam al-Hussein were also of those who paid allegiance, and the Prophet accepted their allegiance. I'm telling you that this holds plans for the future of Islam. The Prophet trusted them that they would be of those who paid allegiance in this specific matter. And this was a vital moment for the life of Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba, and a vital moment for the companions to know who Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba is, who the Prophet accepted allegiance from on a day like this. This is something extremely important to keep in mind. Now, let's fast forward another 3 years. We reach the year 9 after Hijrah. A very important event takes place, and that is the event of Mubahala. And since I see some youngsters sitting here, there is no harm in expanding on the issue of Mubahala, and I will not expand in Arabic. I will take a different side of Mubahala in Arabic, inshallah. However, for now, for the English part, the event of Mubahala was an event where there was a group of Christians from an area called Najran. They had a disagreement, or rather they still disagree, with some of the Islamic creed. What is the difference in creed? They believe that Nabi Allah Isa alayhi wa ala nabiyyina wa alihi afdalu salati wassalam, otherwise known as Jesus, is the Son of God. We believe that he was a messenger of the messengers of God. So these individuals came to debate the Holy Prophet. After debate did not work, they came to a conclusion that we will perform a Mubahala. Mubahala, basically what it is that 2 groups come together, they make a dua in front of Allah Azza wa Jal, and they wish for, they perform a specific sigha as well. They say, I will move from the power of Allah and sustain on my own power, which in itself is something that is not allowed. And I will sustain in my own power, and if you are the one who is lying, then may Allah withdraw His mercy from you. This is what Mubahala is. So he said to them, look, let's do a Mubahala. You go and call your sons, and I will call my sons. You go and call your women, and I will call my women. Go and call yourselves, and I will call myself. So they went, and they got a large group of people to come to perform this Mubahala. The Holy Prophet brought only 4 people with him. He was standing at the forefront. Fatima al-Zahra was with him. Amir al-Mu'mineen was with him. Imam al-Hasan and Imam al-Hussein, peace and blessings be upon them all, were with him, and for their remembrance a salawat. So these individuals were all with the Holy Prophet, meaning that the true women was Fatima, the true sons were who? Hasan and Hussein, and the true self of Rasulullah was none other than Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi afdalu salati wassalam. This was an important event and an important milestone for Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba. Why? Because number one, the moment the Christians of Najran saw him, they turned their backs and they went back to where they came from, because they became scared of a 7-year-old, of a 6-year-old who has just come, and they see nothing but light illuminating from his face. This was the status of Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba, and likewise with Imam al-Hussein and the others that were there in Mubahala. Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba, this is an important milestone of his life, because it shows the status that he had. Being the son of Prophet is one thing, but it showed a different status. Why? Because I will tell you a narration. Al-Hasan sibtun min al-asbab. What does it mean? A sibt, we know in the Arabic language, is usually the son of the daughter. The grandson from the daughter is a sibt. I ask a question. Does it match the eloquence of the Holy Prophet to say, Al-Hasan is my grandson from my daughter amongst the other grandsons from daughters? Genuinely think about this. Does that matter? We don't really think much about these narrations. But for now, ponder. Does this match his eloquence? Not at all. Rather, sibt is a status. A status for prophets and sons of prophets. So the Holy Prophet wanted to say that Al-Hasan reached the status of what? Of sibt. Amongst other individuals that reached the status of sibt, This is what Sibtun min al-Asbat means. Therefore, this status, I said, is for who? For prophets and sons of prophets. So when he said Abna'ana, sons of prophets, is who? Al-Hasan, who is a Sibt, who reached this great status. Do you now see, when you look at history in a different lens, when you understand it with some creed or with some aqa'idi background, how you will see a different light to these roles of Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba? So this was him during the life of the Holy Prophet. And the Holy Prophet would constantly remind the people of the status of Imam al-Hasan and of how much he loved him. He would say, this son of mine, Hasan, I love him. Oh Allah, love those who love him. He would say, for example, in regards to Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba, أشبهت خلقي وخلقي. You are like me in terms of how you look and in terms of your morals. And yes, in terms of how he looks, this is normal, he is his grandson. But in terms of morals, let us ponder again. Let's ponder about these narrations. The Holy Prophets, the best of those who worshipped, the best of those and the most sincere of those who said La ilaha illallah. Allah Azza wa Jal left everything when He came to speak of Him. In the Quran, He said, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, wa innaka la'ala khuluqin. Imam al-Hasan is also upon khuluqin azim. Why? Ashbahta khalqi wa khuluqi. So this is what Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba was. This is another aspect. Al-Hasan Sibtun min al-Asbat, a story for the youngsters to take with them. You know how you were playing earlier? Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba is also young, your age, and there is a man who comes to play with them in the mosque. The Holy Prophet enters and he says to that man, he says, oh man, do you know who you are playing with? He said to him, yes, this is Hasan, your grandson. He said, no, you are playing with an Imam, whether he rises or whether he sits. It was vital for the Holy Prophet to show the true status of Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba, because he knew that he will live at a time of most fitna, while a lot of his companions are still alive. And I want you to keep this in your mind, for I am going to come back to this specific point. The Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, he would pass, or rather he would be martyred, and Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba now plays a big role, which is the role of what does he do now that the caliphate of his father has been usurped, and he is here only 7 or 8 years of age. The narrations say that Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba was one of 4 individuals who were knocking on the doors of Medina, reminding the people of Ghadir. That did you forget what happened in Ghadir? At how old? 7 or 8. He was knocking on the doors of the people, reminding them of Ghadir. He held the first of them accountable, and he said that this is for my father. And the second of them, he approached him and he said to him, get down from the member of my father and go on the member of your father. To which he replied, but my father does not have a member. Look at Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba at this young age, how he talks, and look at the others. And as for the third, a very important historical aspect to take from the life of Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba is that the third exiled one of the greatest companions of our beloved Prophet by the name of Abu Dharr al-Ghifari. He exiled him from Medina and he made him go to Sham. Why? So that Muawiyah can have his eyes on him. Why? Because all he did was sing the praises of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi afdal salati wassalam. So he goes to Sham, and over there he decides to add something. Instead of just singing the praises of Amir al-Mu'mineen, he is informing the people of the bad acts of Uthman. So Muawiyah sends a letter to Uthman. He says, you send this person to Sham in order for you to get rid of him, but he is causing more chaos. He said, why? He said, I've got Sham under control. People in Sham didn't even think Amir al-Mu'mineen prayed. I've got Sham under control. You've sent this man who's walking around the streets telling people about Amir al-Mu'mineen or about Ali ibn Abi Talib and bombing them with your bad acts. What are you doing? So he orders for him to come back. He comes back to Medina and he warns him. He says, look, you say one word about Ali and I will either kill you or make you leave the city. He says, okay, no problem. He leaves. Aliyun nafsu Rasulillah. He's informing everyone. This is the status of Ali ibn Abi Talib. So he orders for his exile. Question, why did he not kill him? The reason he was not able to kill him was because of Imam al-Hasan al-Mushtaba. Imam al-Hasan al-Mushtaba stood fiercely in the face of Uthman in this specific instance, protecting Abu Dharr al-Ghifari. To the extent where, even after they agreed or they wrote a statement for him to be exiled, Imam al-Hasan al-Mushtaba was the one who was in charge of writing letters, or rather sending the letters of protests against Uthman. Number one. Number two, Uthman said anyone cannot accompany him. No one can accompany him at all. Imam al-Hasan al-Mushtaba stayed with Abu Dharr al-Ghifari until the gates of Medina. This was his position. Then you come to the political caliphate of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi afdalu salatu wassalam, and this is the last point I want to mention. You come to his caliphate, and I ask you a question that many of us do not know. What was the role of Imam al-Hasan al-Mushtaba during the caliphate of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi afdalu salatu wassalam? What was his role? In summary, the best word I can find, this is just because this is the best word I can find. If you can find me a better word, please give it to me. Because genuinely, this word is not enough. He was a commander during the caliphate of Ali ibn Abi Talib. But again, I tell you, Wallah al-Azim, the word is not enough. Whatever you understand commander to be, times it by 1,000,000. That is what Imam al-Hasan was. And Wallah, I'm not exaggerating. I'm going to give you some historical accounts and you make the decision for yourself. Amir al-Mu'mineen, the people have just paid allegiance to him. I ask you a question. When a person has just been paid allegiance, what do? Usually they give a sermon to the people, correct? In this specific instance, the people have paid allegiance to Amir al-Mu'mineen. Amir al-Mu'mineen was not the one who gave the sermon after this. He ordered Imam al-Hasan al-Mushtaba to go to the Masjid of Kufa and give the sermon on behalf of him. This is the role of Imam al-Hasan al-Mushtaba. This is one. Two, Talha and Zubair go against their allegiance and they prepare an army with that lady who comes on a camel. Who is the one that prepares the army of Ali ibn Abi Talib to prepare for the battle of Jamal? Imam al-Hasan al-Mushtaba. Who was the one who in that battle fearlessly was able to get through the army and pierce that camel with his spear? Imam al-Hasan al-Mushtaba. When all the other companions of Amir al-Mu'mineen failed, and of the ones that failed was Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah. But Imam al-Hasan al-Mushtaba was that individual who was able to do that through his bravery. Three, in Siffin, Muawiyah comes out to fight Amir al-Mu'mineen. Who is the one that prepares the army of Amir al-Mu'mineen? Imam al-Hasan al-Mushtaba. Do you now understand when I say that he was the commander? Not only that, he also took the role of leading the right flank of the army of Ali ibn Abi Talib in the Battle of Siffin. And this, remember I said, I want you to remember something I said earlier, that for the Prophet it was important to mention these narrations in order to remind the people at the time of most fitna, when most of his companions will be alive. This is what I want from it. Look, he commands the right side of the right flank of the army of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Those specific battles used to have a certain way. Of that way is that there would be a one-on-one combat before the war starts. Usually, the commander would order one of the brave warriors behind him to go forward, to fight the one-on-one combat. When it came to Imam al-Hasan al-Mushtaba, what did he do? He put his own self forward. He said he will fight the one-on-one combat. Look at the bravery of Imam Hasan al-Mujtaba. From the other side, one of the bravest men from Sham would approach him. He looks at the face of Imam Hasan al-Mujtaba, he turns around, he leaves. Imam Hasan al-Mujtaba asks, where are you going? He said to him, by Allah, I witnessed your grandfather Rasulullah walking while you were walking next to him, and I will not fight you, for my adversary then on the day of judgment will be Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Do you now understand what I said? These narrations were important. But anyway, this was the role of Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba. Battle of Siffin ended in what we call a tahkim, which Battle of Siffin potentially requires a talk by itself. But in summary, it required a tahkim where two parties came to perform a specific issue between one person representing Amir al-Mu'min, one person representing Muawiyah. Who gave the sermon before tahkim? Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba. Amir al-Mu'mineen, now you're going to tell me, where was his involvement? His involvement was after the battle, in terms of talking. His involvement was after the battle. Did he give a speech to the army? No. He wrote a letter to Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba, alayhi afdalu salatu wassalam. And for those of you who are here to read and to learn more and to understand Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba more, go back to Nahj al-Balagha, letter number 31. Nahj al-Balagha, letter number 31. Here you will find a letter that was sent from Amir al-Mu'mineen to Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba, where it holds unbelievable akhlaqi issues. And this letter was written to him after the Battle of Siffin had ended. And likewise in Ramadan, and likewise until Amir al-Mu'mineen was martyred, and the days of his martyrdom are coming, inshallah. And that is when the caliphate of Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam and his imam started, which we will cover that second side of history tomorrow, inshallah, if Allah Azza wa Jalla allows us to. But for now, I'm going to do a quick summary, because I realize the time has been 30 minutes so far. I'm going to do a quick summary of what we have spoken about and potentially look at different angles in the Arabic language, inshallah. And we shall do that with your permission and with 3 salawat ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad.